Hello, one and all. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Temple Ahavat Shalom as we celebrate Shabbat this evening and also the holiday and festival of Purim, our holiday of lots and chants. I'm Rabbi Matt, and I'm here on the bima with our soloist, Allison Rosoff, and down on the keys, Tim Berneman, and we're going to share some wonderful Purim songs with you this evening, the first of which you'll find on the screen before you, which is Chag Sameach. For those in the crowd here, the words are Chag Sameach, happy holiday, and then Shiru Chag Sameach, which means sing happy holidays. Chag Sameach, yai la la la, ya la la. Chag Sameach, yai la la la, ya la la. Chag Sameach, yai la la la, ya la la. Chag Sameach, yai la la, ya la la. Shiru, 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 Chag Sameach, yai la la, ya la la. Shiru, 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 Chag Sameach, yai la la la, ya la la. Shiru, 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 Chag Sameach, yai la la la, ya la la. Shiru, 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 Chag Sameach, yai la la, ya la la. Chag Sameach, yai la la la, ya la la. Chag Sameach, yai la la la, la la la. We're all so glad that you are joining us here this Shabbat evening. As we do every Friday night, we'll prepare to kindle the lights of. You'll find the blessing for the Shabbat candles on page 2 in your prayer books for those of us in the sanctuary. A poem I recently read by Simon Jacobson called Perm Greetings. May you be turned inside out, upside down, and outside in. May your masks be masked, and your inside unmasked. May your countenance shine from within as you meet yourself face to face, panim el panim. May your masquerade no longer be needed as the shrouds fade away. May your child and grandchild smile and dance as the facade is lifted. May you just be. One of my favorite songs for Purim is Chag Purim, a traditional folk song that is found on page 369. You'll find the Hebrew for that and a slightly different translation in English that Allison, Tim, and I will sing to you. So feel free to join us in Chag Purim. Hag Purim, Hag Gadol HaYehudim, Masechot Rashanim, Zerot Refudim, Havana Risha, Rosh, Havana Risha, Rosh, Havana Risha, Rosh, Barashanim. Those are the groggers. And in English, Purim Day, it's a happy holiday. We make noise with our toys, sing and dance and play. Let's hear the groggers, rush. Let's hear the groggers, rush. Let's hear the groggers, rush. When they say amen. Boo for Haman. Going to go back to Shabbos song, Shalom Aleichem, way back on page 24 in your prayer books. Peace be to you, messengers of the Most High. Enter in peace, bless us with peace, and at the end of Shabbat, depart from us, b'shalom, in peace.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mo'echem l'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchuni l'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem l'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Making our way from the liturgy of Kabbalat Shabbat, receiving Shabbat, to Shema and its blessings, the next part of our Friday evening Shabbat service. On page 26, you'll find the words of praise, Chatzi, or half Kaddish.
Yitkadav, Yitkadash, Shmei Rabbah, B'yamad Yivrach, Yurtei V'yamlich Malchutei, B'chayechon U'v'yomechon, U'v'chayir Kol Beit Yisrael, Bagala, U'v'yizman Kariv, V'imaru, Amen. Yeshmei Rabbah Mevarach, Le'olam U'almei Amaya, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yipa'ar, V'yitroman, V'yitnaseh, V'yithadar, V'yidaleh, V'yidallah, Shemei Dekudesha Brichu, Le'elam Min Kol Birchata V'shirata, Dush bechata v'nechemata, Damin ran v'alma, v'imaru, Amen.
Let's rise now as we turn to the call to worship, the Baruch Hu, found on 28. continue with a prayer for the evening Maariv Aravim on page 31. Feel free to join me. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. And on the middle of page 33, words of love. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Let's open up our eyes to the beauty of the world as we prepare to sing the Shema. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes. Teach us how to live. Teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. And we will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Vaed. Feel free to be seated. We'll continue chanting the words of the Shema, the first and part of the third paragraph, the Via Hafta, which is found on 36. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Via Hafta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובישעריך, למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, V'yitem kedoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim. Liot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Adonai Elohechem. Amen. Words of truth and faith are found on 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we are taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. And you'll find the words of Mi Chamocha, our song and prayer of freedom, on page 40. Who is like you? Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob, our forefather, from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. On 42, you'll find the words to Hashkivenu, our prayer, asking God for comfort and shelter every night.
Oivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leShalom, ve'amideinu shomreinu lechaim. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu v'yakamo Yisrael le'al Yerushalayim. Amen.
Blessed are you, God, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem, the holy city. Let's rise now for the words of our tefillah, our standing prayers, which begin on page 46 and continue on even pages, asking God to open our lips and accept our words of praise.
Adonai, sifatai tiftachu fi agida hilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot ve'Imaot, U'mevii Gula livnei vneihem, L'ma'an Shemo be'ava, Melech Hozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Hakol, Atah Rav la'Oshia, Mashiva Ruach Morid Hashem, Mechachel Chayim b'Chesed, Mechayei Hakol berachamim rabim, Somech nofim ve'rofei cholim, U'matir asurim, U'mechayim emunato lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, U'miro melach, Melech me'mit u'mechayeh, U'matzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lechayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol.
Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Feel free to be seated. Those first three blessings, thanking God for the generations who came before us, zichut avot v'imachot, for the strength that we have in our lives, and for holiness. We'll continue now with the intermediate blessings, the first for sanctifying Shabbat on 55. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. For worship, Avodah on page 56. Baruch atah Adonai hamachazir shechinato l'tzion. Blessed are you whose presence returns to Zion. And for goodness, on 59. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha u'cha na'eh lechodot. So on Hanukkah and Purim, which, as fun as these holidays are only considered minor holidays in the pantheon of the Jewish calendar. There's a special addition to the Avodah worship prayer in the Tefillah, and it's called Al HaNisim, for the miracles that were done in Israel for Hanukkah or in Persia, in Shushan, both for the Jews long ago. On page 264 in the prayer book, you'll find these words, or right on the screen before you. Al HaNisim. Al HaNisim ve'al HaPurhan ve'al HaGvurot ve'al HaTshuvot ve'al HaMilchamot ve'asit l'avoteinu bayamim ha'em b'zman hazeh. Al HaNisim ve'al HaPurhan ve'al HaTshuvot ve'al HaGvurot ve'al HaMilchamot ve'asit l'avoteinu bayamim ha'em b'zman hazeh. Al HaNisim ve'al HaPurhan ve'al HaGvurot ve'al HaTshuvot ve'al HaMilchamot ve'asit l'avoteinu bayamim ha'em b'zman hazeh. Al HaNisim ve'al HaPurhan ve'al HaGvurot ve'al HaTshuvot ve'al HaMilchamot ve'asit l'avoteinu bayamim ha'em b'zman hazeh. Al HaNisim ve'al HaPurhan ve'al HaGvurot ve'al HaTshuvot ve'al HaMilchamot ve'asit l'avoteinu bayamim ha'em b'zman hazeh. I love that song. It's a really good one, especially because you only get to sing it twice a year, so you might as well enjoy it while you're doing it. We'll now turn to the final, the seventh blessing in the Tefillah and our standing prayers, which is called Birkat Shalom, blessing for peace. In the prayer book, it's found on page 60. We know it as Shalom Rav. Grant abundant peace to Israel, your people, forever, for you're the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. Blessed are you, God, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Let's take some precious moments now for the meditations of our heart, things that are important to us. And then after that, we'll be singing Oseh Shalom, and the one who causes peace, on page 62.
Oseh Shalom bimroma
At this time, we call to mind and to heart people in our community, friends and neighbors, and others throughout the world who are in need of a healing of body, mind, and spirit. We, of course, think of all those who are ill at this time, with special prayers still being sent towards Texas as they bring things back to normal there. And to these names, we add prayers of healing for Lily Blackwell, Herb Bloom, Marcy Bunn, Lisa Cargile, Eddie Deerfield, Matthew Deinhardt, Rabbi Alex Duchovny, Edie Ekber, Heather Felser, Harry Fleisch, Myra Friedman, Denise Freifeld, Peggy Gerson, Mark Gittimer, Stephen Goldstein, Leah Gottlieb, Jody Kaplan, Arthur Maller, Aaron Mailer, Marcia Mollet, Bob Rosen, Stephanie Ross, Mickey Siegel, Sue Schoenbaum, Andrew Shapiro, Betty Sharp, Francine Spector, Joel Spector, Jeff Stark, Carrie Taylor, Bob Wallerstein, Helene Wallerstein, and Elaine Young. And if there are any names that you'd like to add, for those of you watching at home or here in the sanctuary, feel free to add their names aloud or in your heart at this time. You'll find the words to our healing prayer, Mishaberach, on 253. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I like cars, and I love driving. I used to drive a stick shift long ago and then eventually changed over to an automatic. Of course, I don't like driving in traffic, obviously, but I do like taking long drives on windy roads. It gives me time to think and to breathe in the beauty of what's before me in nature. Like many of you, I've traveled long distances by car across the country at times. It's a great way to see the world, to experience how the land changes from one place to the next. And of course, some drives are more memorable than others. One of my favorites is in Northern California. You begin in San Francisco, you cross over the Golden Gate Bridge north to Marin County, home of the Grateful Dead. I've been there many times because my Aunt Bonnie lives up there. After driving north on Highway 101 for a while, you turn west onto Route 1, which eventually runs along the Pacific shoreline. This road takes you right up to the top of Mount Tamalpais on the way to Muir Woods National Monument, where you can see those awesome redwood trees. It's a bit of a dicey drive, though, because of the elevation, the twisty roads, and the ever-present thick clouds. At times, it's so foggy that you can't even see 10 feet in front of you. Now, I haven't made this drive in many years, but every time I drove Route 1, I was in awe of those clouds. It could be totally sunny down there in Mill Valley, but then you're always enveloped by the clouds high up in the switchbacks. It's an incredible sight. Sometimes when I think of clouds, they remind me of the Israelites' journey in the Sinai desert. As we read in the book of Exodus, whenever the cloud had taken up residence above the tabernacle or portable sanctuary, the Israelites would know that it would be time to set out on the next leg of their journey. And in the evenings, they would rest whenever there was a fire present in the cloud at night. This is how the Israelites knew when to stay put and when to travel to their next camping location. Kind of like Super Cruise in the GM cars, or divine GPS in a theological sense. The cloud told them where to go. To my mind, this cloud over the tabernacle symbolizes two things. The first is uncertainty. The second is possibility. Without a doubt, many Israelites were wondering at the time, where is this cloud going to take us? I mean, is it going to bring us to the promised land? Or will it just lead us deeper into the desert, farther away from civilization and all the things we're accustomed to? I'm sure there were some optimists among the group too. I can imagine them saying to each other, we've been through so much, such bondage and toil. We never had any rest. I know that God is bringing us someplace special. Hopefully, these optimists didn't get too many tomatoes thrown at them. This evening, we celebrate Purim, which in addition to being a joyful holiday, is a holiday that has uncertainty. There's a traditional saying about this festival. It takes the more formal name of Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, which is Yom HaKippurim in Hebrew, and reworks the Hebrew letters to read something like this, Yom HaKi Purim, which translates to a day that's like Purim. Now, an astute listener might ask, so what's the similarity between Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the Jewish calendar, and Purim, the most raucous day of the year, when you can wear a purple suit from top to bottom and no one will even give you a second look? And on a day that, if we're technical, we're commanded on Purim to imbibe so much that we can't tell the difference between the good and bad, Mordechai and Haman. One answer lies in the Hebrew, Ki Purim, which can also mean like a lottery, a game of chance. On Yom Kippur, the Torah teaches, lots are cast for 2 goats. One goat will be an offering in the Jerusalem temple. The other goat is sent into the wilderness, the symbolic recipient of the people's sins. In a similar way, the holiday of Purim gets its name from the lots cast by Haman to choose the day on which he wanted to destroy the Jews. It turned out to be the 14th day of the Hebrew month of Adar. Both Yom Kippur and Purim remind us that chance and uncertainty have an important role in the world, but they don't rule the world. Recently, I read an article by Dr. Erica Brown. She teaches at the George Washington University. The article is called Clocks and Clouds, Navigating Uncertainty. It talks about 2 different types of problems that we may face. The first is a clock problem, and the second, a cloud problem. A clock problem is easier to solve. If we want to understand how an analog clock works, the answer is probably mechanical. We can remove the various parts of the clock, the big ones and the small ones, and we can look at them, we can study them. There's an organization behind the design, meaning if the clock is broken and we have a lot of patience, and maybe even a loop to see up close, we can fit those pieces back together, at least most of the time. A cloud problem, on the other hand, is much more complex. It's much more dynamic. We can't disassemble a cloud in the same way we can take apart a clock. Clouds are by nature unpredictable. They're constantly in flux. And we can't take the cloud and break it into its component parts. So what we need to do is look beyond the cloud to understand weather patterns and maybe other factors that might be in play. Right now, all of us, along with so many others, find ourselves in uncharted waters, much like the Jews of Shushan felt when they heard of Haman's evil decree and asked, what's going to happen to us? Or when the Israelites were wandering through the desert and they were asking, are we there yet? Thankfully, with 2 and soon to be 3 vaccines on the horizon, there's hope that in the coming months, we'll eventually get to the other side. Now, this is a cloud problem through and through. Dealing with a pandemic is so complex, and it's ever-changing. It's something we're going to have to struggle with for a pretty long time. It's comforting to know that there are examples of leadership in our tradition that can give us guidance when we feel uncertain, examples that can serve as touchstones to help lead us forward. Take Hobab, for instance. Now, Hobab is usually a footnote in the Torah, but I'd like to amplify his role just a little bit. Hobab was asked by his brother-in-law, Moses, the leader of the Jews, to guide the people to Israel, although we're never at first given the reason why. When Moses first asked Hobab, will you lead us forward? Hobab said, no, I won't. Then Moses asks him again, and this time he provides a reason why Hobab's presence is necessary. It's because he knows how to camp in the wilderness. Remember, Moses was brought up in the big city, in the Pharaoh's palace. He probably didn't have much experience with a camp stove or setting up a tent or dealing with the unpredictability of the desert landscape. He needed a guide. Well, it turns out Hobab turns Moses down a second time. He wouldn't be the people's guide. So Moses decides to move on. And he ultimately sends the Ark of the Covenant out in front to lead the people through the desert with its cloud that will show the Israelites the way forward, like Super Cruise or divine GPS. But more than that, what lies beneath the cloud is our eternal compass, the twin tablets in the ark that will serve as our anchor in times of uncertainty, just as they can today. We can hear this echo in the verses of the book of Esther, Megillat Esther, the script for Purim celebration. We need only to lead into its wisdom, which can provide comfort and courage to carry us through challenging times. Purim teaches us that even in our darkest moments, we can find new possibilities and experience moments of joy. We can shake our groggers at Haman and cheer for our heroes Esther and Mordecai. This is the Jewish way, to defeat fear with joy. We learned this lesson last night from Rabbi Bob Alper, the Vermonter who headlined our annual speaker series. Rabbi Alper is probably the only clergyman in the world who makes his living full-time as a stand-up comic. In his presence, and he was here in person last night, he shared with us that the Jewish response to uncertainty is laughter. Moreover, our ability to find humor and light, even in dark times, is profound and meaningful. Or to put it another way, when we smile, the world smiles with us. Laughter won't, in and of itself, solve the cloud problem that we're all dealing with, the uncertainty that we still feel as we approach a full year living in the pandemic era. But it does give us a healthy dose of medicine, an uplifting prescription for our soul, because a good belly laugh from our insides, from our kishkis, can do wonders, as well as have an analgesic effect for our physical body, just as it did last night here in our sanctuary with the hundreds of folks who are turning in from at home. As we celebrate Purim, let's remember that we have a compass to guide us, the wisdom of our tradition, the twin tablets of Torah, and the purpose of the commandments, the sacred obligations. These and those invite us to reach out and lift up others around us. And perhaps most importantly, they can provide us with a measure of comfort as well as inspiration during these cloud-like times. Shabbat Shalom. We'll turn now to the words of Elenu, the Adoration, which you'll find on page 282. Please rise as the ark is opened.
Elenu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כלאי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You can feel free to be seated. And we'll continue on page 294, where you'll find the words to Mourners Kaddish, our words of praise. At this time, we think of all those in our midst, friends and family of the congregation who have died in the past 30 days, whose families are in the period of mourning called Shloshim, 30 days. We think of Greta Holman, Ronnie Garber, mother of Randy Margolis, Reverend Tom Nees, friend of Tom Rose, Evelyn Kornfeld, mother of Stephen Kornfeld, Riva Sorkers, mother of Mark Sorkers, Dennis Schneider, husband of Barbara Schneider, Brian Mahardy, friend of Bill Ross, Mildred Fetterman Plotnick, mother of Francine Spector, Erwin Kern, uncle of Irene Lipensky and Susan Satinoff, Armando R. Caballero, father of Luz Himmelhoch, Robert Allen, father of Deborah Allen, Colonel Lee Van Ness Bloomberg, husband of Norma Bloomberg, and Jackie Salenfriend, friend of Janet Edelman. We also mark the yahrzeit, the anniversary of death of the following individuals on this Shabbat: We remember Alice Heron, Annette Kramer, Arnold Albin, Beatrice Goldsmith, Bonnie Dillman, Florence Ackerman, Gertrude Goldstein, Jeffrey Reines, Lenora Kirk, Louis Greiner, Louis Channon, Mary Posner, Moisha Eisenstadt, Morris Stotland, Morris Steinhorn, Peggy Frankel, Rachel Swoy, Ruth Zisman, Selma Bauer, Sydney Weiss, Sylvan Lowenstein, Sylvia Channon, and Therese Ach. We also think of those individuals and families who lost a loved one during this time due to illness, as well as those who lost their lives in the storm in Texas from last week. If there are any other names to add for Yahrzeit, either here in the sanctuary or at home, feel free to recite their name aloud at this time. We say, Zichronam Livracha, may the memories of these good people continue to be a blessing among us as we rise as a congregation in solidarity with all who remember to recite the words of Mourners Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalmad yivrach hirutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei lechol beit Yisrael, v'agalav b'zman karivi imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mibarach le'alam u'lalmei al-mayah, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudusha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran b'yalma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chaim Elenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'ramav, hu ya'aseh shalom Elenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who causes peace in the heavens cause peace to descend on us, Israel, and the world, as we say, amen.
V'imru, 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 amen. V'imru, 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 amen.
And feel free to be seated. You'll find the words to Shabbat Kiddush, blessing of the fruit of the vine, on page 5 or on the screen before you. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei bariach hafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu
המוציא
Lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. So we've been collecting food for the Jewish Federation's PJ Library Purim canned food drive, and the box is overflowing. You can feel free through this Tuesday to bring any type of dry good or canned good to the synagogue, and they'll be picked up on Tuesday from a representative at the Federation. There are going to be a lot of fun to be had this Sunday, the 28th, in our temple parking lot. The whole congregation is invited to our Purim drive-through celebration, which will be modeled in a similar way to our Hanukkah drive-in celebration. There's going to be socially distanced carnival games, a pop concert on the main stage at 10 and also at 11, a chance to see all the religious school teachers in person. That's always fun to see people in person nowadays. And also, I'll be chanting some from the Scroll of Esther, Megillat Esther, the book of Esther. It should be a lot of fun. And for those coming in the drive-thru, we're also going to have, in addition to a speaker outside, you're going to be able to tune in to an FM station and hear everything from inside your car as long as you're in the parking lot. On March 10th, we're co-sponsoring a Jewish Federation Zoom book talk with Sharon Leader, author of the book Groundbreaking Jewish Feminism. And on March 11th, we're pleased to offer a Zoom performance of a play called Phony Baloney. It's about scammers and how to outsmart them. Coming up a little bit sooner, this coming Tuesday at 11 a.m., I'll be leading a Torah study on the Torah portion of the week. We invite you to join in any and all of these programs. I thought it would be great to end on a light note with the psalm that you're going to find on the screen in front of you, or for those in the sanctuary, in your Shabbat booklet, not in the prayer book. Wicked, wicked man. Once there was a wicked, wicked man. Haman was his name, sir. Would have taken all the Jews, though they were not to blame, sir. Today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And Nasham and Tashin. And Esther was the lovely queen of King Ahasuerus. When Haman said he'd get us all, oh my, how did he scare us? Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And Nasham and Tashin. But Mordecai, her cousin, both said, what a dreadful hood. But he is so bad in every way. This Haman I would rid, sir. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will of all his cruel and unkind ways. This little joke did cure him. Don't forget we owe him thanks for the jolly feast of Purim. Oh, today we'll merry, merry me. Oh, today we'll merry, merry be. Oh, today we'll merry, merry be. And Nasham and Tashin. So before our closing prayer, I'd like to thank our Shabbat greeters, those helping out with the tech in the back, and our musical team as well. Thank you so much for joining us here as we celebrate Purim and Shabbat. And as we've been doing every Friday night, we'll end with a prayer for our health and well-being, the importance of wearing a mask whenever possible. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, al shmirat hanefesh, for the mitzvah and sacred obligation to protect our life as well as the lives of those around us. Hag Purim Sameach. Hopefully see a lot of you in person on Sunday, and Shabbat Shalom until we see you next time. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi.